Welcome back to Next Generation Teaching. This is episode 3 in our planning series, and I'm really glad you're joining me again. In episodes 1 and 2, we focused on the building blocks of great teaching. First, how to design an effective individual lesson, and then how to use backward design to ensure every lesson is driven by clear end goals. Today, we're zooming right out to the long view. We're stepping into the world of long-term planning, how to design a curriculum that unfolds coherently across an entire year or even across a whole key stage. But this episode does something a little bit different. Every section comes with a practical, ready-to-use AI prompt so you can immediately take what you learn and put it into action. And there's a reason for that. Long-term planning is the simple and single area of teaching where AI currently offers the highest return on your time. Tasks that used to take 2 full days can now be completed in a matter of hours if you know how to prompt effectively. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear framework, a step-by-step workflow, and a set of prompts you can use straight away. So, let's get started. This episode is all about long-term planning and sequencing, and specifically building a coherent program with AI as your partner in the process. And I do want to emphasize that word, partner. AI is not your curriculum designer, and it's certainly not your decision maker. It's a thinking companion, something that accelerates your work, but not something that replaces your professional judgment. That distinction matters, and it's a theme I'll return to throughout the episode. There's one guiding question I'd like you to keep in mind as we go. If you removed any single unit from your current curriculum, would the rest of the course make less sense? In other words, would students be missing something essential that prepares them for what comes next? If the answer is yes, then that's the sign of a coherent curriculum. If the answer is no, there's an opportunity to strengthen the sequence. And today, you'll see exactly how AI can help you identify those gaps and fix them. So let's begin by looking honestly at the problem, because the 3 statistics on this slide are ones I believe every teacher deserves to know. TeacherTapp carried out a national survey of secondary teachers across England and found that 40% had never seen their scheme of work reviewed or updated. 40%! That means almost half of us are teaching from curriculum plans that may have been created years ago. Plans written for a different exam specification, for a different cohort, and certainly before we had the evidence base we rely on today. That is exactly the kind of issue that AI can help us change. A curriculum review that might previously have taken an entire department day can now begin with a focused 10-minute AI session that identifies gaps and starting points. The Education Endowment Foundation adds another important piece to the picture. Their research shows that when a curriculum is incoherent, when there are gaps or weak connections between year groups, students can lose as much as half an academic year of progress. Half a year! That's not a minor dip, that's an entire grade boundary at GCSE. This highlights just how essential it is that the learning journey makes sense from the start to the finish. And then there's a statistic from Dylan William that I think is one of the most powerful in the field of curriculum design. He found that teachers who understand both where their students are going and what they have already learned have 3 times the positive impact on student outcomes compared to those who don't. 3 times. Long-term planning is how you build the understanding, and AI, used well, can dramatically speed up the process of creating that clarity. So the question for today isn't simply, should I plan long term? That part is already clear. The real question is, how can AI help me to do this work better, faster, and more effectively than before? A strong long-term plan rests on 4 components, and the reason I'm calling each one out here is simple. AI can help you build all 4 from scratch if you know how to prompt it effectively. Now, component 1 is your big picture intent. This is the heartbeat of your curriculum, the why behind what you teach. It defines what you want students to understand about the discipline by the end of their journey. And this isn't just something you dust off for an Ofsted inspection. This is the guiding compass for every sequencing decision you'll make. The AI prompt on the slide, asking it to write a Key Stage 3 history curriculum intent, gives you a quick, workable first draft in under a minute. From there, you use your professional understanding of your school, your context, and your students to refine it into something meaningful. You can obviously do this and adjust it for all subjects within the curriculum. Component 2 is unit architecture. This is all about connection and flow. How do your units link to one another? What foundations does Year 7 lay that Year 9 will rely on? AI is particularly strong here. If you paste in your unit titles, it can suggest a logical order and, crucially, explain the reasoning. It's the explanation that really matters because that's where you see whether the sequence aligns with your subject expertise. Now, component 3 is your assessment spine. These are the planned checkpoints that punctuate the year. They tell you what you're measuring, when you're measuring it, and why. AI can produce a first draft assessment calendar for your whole year group in minutes, aligned to GCSE style skills. Again, it's a starting point, not a finished product. You then apply your judgment to make it fit your cohort and to adjust as necessary. Component 4 is the knowledge and the skills map. This outlines what students must know before they begin each unit and what new knowledge and skills each unit is intended to build. Think of it as the dependency map for your curriculum. It's also one of the most time-intensive pieces to create manually. But again, AI can generate a prerequisite list for any unit in seconds, giving you a clear view of what must come before what. 4 components, 4 prompts, and that's exactly what this slide is designed to show you. Let me walk you through a practical 5-step workflow for building a curriculum sequence with AI as your thinking partner. This is a process I have started to use myself, and it strikes the right balance between human expertise and AI-powered efficiency. Step 1 is start with your end goals. Before you open an AI tool, take a moment to identify what students must be able to do by the end of the key stage. Think about the exam requirements, the disciplinary skills that you want them to develop, and the threshold concepts that anchor your subject. Write these down yourself. This becomes your human anchor point, the reference that ensures everything the AI produces actually aligns with what matters most. Step 2 is to list your units and let AI sequence them for you. Don't worry about the order at this stage. Just paste it into the unit titles exactly as they are and ask AI to propose a pedagogically sound sequence, and importantly, to explain the reasoning behind the order that it suggests. That explanation is where you should focus your attention. Does it align with your subject understanding? If it doesn't, then you've just uncovered something valuable to reflect on. Step 3 is to map the prerequisite knowledge. Once you have a draft sequence, ask AI to outline what students should already know before they begin each unit. Get it to flag anything that relies on prior learning from earlier year groups. This becomes your diagnostic checklist, the tool you use at the start of every unit to ensure students are ready to access the content. Step 4 is to build the assessment spine. Ask AI to suggest where your formal assessment checkpoints should sit within the sequence and what each one should measure. Then cross-reference those suggestions with the exam board's assessment objectives to ensure they're aligned. AI will give you a quick first draft, but you need to make sure that you refine it to suit your course. And step 5, and this is the most crucial step, is to review everything through your professional judgment. AI cannot know your students. It doesn't know what your current Year 9 cohort actually secured after their Year 8 experience. It doesn't know your school's context. It doesn't know your exam board's latest trends or the specific topics that consistently challenge your learners. Once you have that knowledge, you need to make sure that you incorporate it into this planning process. So, step 5 is where you transform a good plan into your plan. So, 5 steps. The first and the last are entirely human. The middle 3 are where AI saves you the most time. The curriculum map is essentially your long-term plan made visible. It brings everything together in a single document that shows what you're teaching, when you're teaching it, and how each unit connects to the next. Traditionally, creating a curriculum map takes a significant amount of time, often days. With AI, your first draft can be produced in around 20 minutes. Take a look at the map on screen. It shows 6 half terms for Year 7 history, beginning with the Norman Conquest and ending with the road to the First World War. This isn't just a list of topics, it's a deliberate arc. It builds students' chronological understanding in the first part of the year and gradually transitions them into more analytical and thematic thinking as summer approaches. The progression is intentional, and it's the kind of structure AI can help you sketch quickly. Under each unit, you can see the types of output that AI can generate for you. For every unit, it produces a knowledge list, a threshold concepts, a vocabulary bank, a prerequisite check, a first draft assessment task, and even cross-reference against your exam specification skills. None of these drafts will be perfect straight away, but they are solid, time-saving starting points. Work that would previously have taken hours for each individual unit. Now you shift your attention to the right-hand side of the column, what only you can add. This is where your professional understanding matters most. Your students' specific starting points from last year's data. Your exam board's current areas of emphasis. The topics your Year 8 cohort traditionally struggle with. The local and cultural relevance that makes your curriculum feel grounded in your school community. These are things that AI cannot know and cannot create, but they are the things that make a curriculum truly belong to your context. A key message to take from this slide is simple. AI builds the scaffold, and you're the ones who fill it with expertise. Please take a moment to pause on this slide because it brings together a set of prompts that you can start using immediately for your long-term curriculum planning. They're practical, subject agnostic, and ready for you to copy, adapt, and apply to your own year groups or your own subject. The sequence checker is your quick audit tool. You paste in your current unit order and ask AI whether the sequence follows a logical pedagogical progression, and crucially, what it would change and why. In 2 minutes, you get a fresh perspective on a curriculum you might not have reviewed in years. The prerequisite mapper helps you to diagnose readiness before you start teaching. For any upcoming unit, ask AI to list the 10 most important pieces of prior knowledge students need and to flag which ones are likely to be gaps. This becomes your diagnostic starting point for lesson 1. The unit intent writer gives you a tight, meaningful summary of a unit's purpose. In just 3 sentences, AI outlines what students will learn, why it matters, and how it connects to their GCSE journey. It's a strong first draft that you refine with your own subject knowledge expertise. The handover checklist supports transition between year groups. Ask AI to identify the 12 things students must know securely before moving from Year 8 to Year 9. Then compare the list with what your current Year 8 curriculum actually teaches. Any discrepancies instantly become your action points. The Knowledge Organizer prompt gives you a first draft organizer for a GCSE unit, including key events, key people, essential vocabulary with definitions, and 5 historical interpretations in this instance. It's generated in under 2 minutes and saves a huge amount of time on admin heavy tasks. And finally, the spec cross-reference. Paste in your unit sequence alongside your exam board's assessment objectives and ask AI to highlight any gaps. It will often surface omissions you may not have noticed, exactly the kind of detail that strengthens curriculum alignment. 6 prompts, all practical, all high value. So pause the video, note them down, and start with the one that solves your most immediate planning challenge. This is the slide I think you should return to every time you use AI for curriculum planning. You'll see 2 columns side by side, and the line between them is the professional boundary you need to hold firmly. AI genuinely can support you with a whole range of high value tasks. It can generate first draft unit overviews directly from your specification. It can suggest a sequencing order and justify that order clearly. It can map prerequisite knowledge for any unit, create knowledge organisers and vocabulary lists, cross-reference your content against assessment objectives, produce handover checklists between year groups, and even flag gaps or overlaps within a draft curriculum. These are not small tasks. They are time-consuming pieces of work that used to take hours. AI can now give you a credible first draft for each of them in minutes. But AI cannot do the part of the work that relies on your deep professional understanding. It cannot know your students, what they struggled with last year, where the misconceptions usually appear, or which groups need more time on particular topics. It cannot understand your school's culture or your community context. It cannot see last year's data and interpret what the current Year 9 actually secured after Year 8. And it cannot decide which topics deserve more depth, which require less, or how your local exam board's current focus should shape your choices. That level of insight lives only with you. And that leads to the rule at the bottom of the slide. And I want to say it really clearly. AI drafts, you decide. Never publish or share an AI-generated curriculum map without reading it, without challenging it, without adapting it, and making sure it reflects your professional judgment. You have to own every line. Your expertise isn't replaced by this technology. Your expertise is what makes this technology valuable. So this slide highlights 5 common long-term planning failures, and for each one, a specific AI prompt that helps you to spot the issue before it grows into a bigger problem. Failure 1 is a scheme of work that's never reviewed. It happens easily. A plan gets inherited, used, reused, and gradually becomes invisible. The AI prompt here is simple. Paste in last year's outcomes data and ask, what should I change in my curriculum sequence or emphasize based on these results? In 2 minutes, you have the starting point for an annual review. Failure 2 is no clear rationale for the unit order. Often we teach units in a particular sequence simply because that's how it's always been. Ask AI to write a 1-paragraph rationale explaining why your current sequence is pedagogically sound. If its explanation is clearer or stronger than your real reasoning, that's a signal that the sequence needs rethinking. Failure 3 is that skills are introduced once and never revisited. This is a common curriculum blind spot. Ask AI to audit your curriculum. Identify which analytical skills appear only once in the scheme of work, and suggest where they should be revisited and deepened. That's the kind of analysis that usually takes an entire department meeting, and AI can produce it in approximately 60 seconds. Failure 4 is assuming prior knowledge without actually checking it. Instead of hoping that students remember what they learned last year, ask AI to design a 10-question diagnostic quiz covering the prerequisite knowledge for your next unit. You run it in lesson 1 and immediately know what your foundations are and whether or not they're secure. And then you will also know what you need to reteach. Failure 5, and this one is specific to using AI. Publishing an AI-generated curriculum plan without an expert review. The safety prompt here is, what errors, gaps, or genetic generic assumptions might this curriculum plan contain that a subject expert should check? AI is surprisingly good at pointing out its own limitations when you ask it to. So let's finish with 4 key takeaways. Takeaway 1: AI is your planning partner, not your planner. It can draft, it can sequence and cross-reference, but you judge, you refine, and ultimately, you own every line. That boundary, the line between AI's contribution and your professional responsibility, is one you should hold firmly. Takeaway 2 is that there are 4 core components of a strong long-term plan, and AI can produce a first draft of all 4: your curriculum intent, your curriculum architecture, your assessment spine, and your knowledge and skill map. Now you know exactly what to ask for and where AI can save you the most time. Takeaway 3 is the 5-step workflow. Start with your end goals, list your units, map the prerequisites, build your assessment spine, and then apply your professional judgment. The first and final steps are entirely human. The middle 3 are where AI earns its keep. Takeaway 4: vague prompts lead to vague outputs. Clear prompts lead to useful ones. Year group, topic, exam board, assessment objective, skills focus, specificity is what unlocks high quality responses. And finally, your 4 AI actions for this week. Pick one upcoming unit and run the prerequisite mapper prompt. Compare AI's list with what you currently assume students know. Paste your current unit sequence into AI and ask it to suggest a better order. Notice what it flags that you hadn't considered. Cross-reference your Year 10 or your Year 11 sequence against your exam specification using the spec cross-reference prompt, and use the handover checklist prompt for the transition year group you find most challenging. Choose one of these actions. Do it this week. 10 minutes with AI spent on your long-term plan is 10 minutes that can genuinely reshape a year of teaching. Next up is episode 4, differentiation and scaffolding in planning. One plan, many pathways, many ways to get there. If you've ever looked at a mixed attainment class and wondered how on earth am I going to plan effectively for all of them in a single lesson, then this is the episode for you, and I will see you there. I will pause on this slide so you can see some of the research looked at relating to this presentation and the key takeaway used from each one. This slide and the one that follows, you'll find a set of prompts designed to support your long-term curriculum planning with AI. I'll pause here briefly so you can take a screenshot if you wish. Remember, these prompts provide only a first draft. You need to make sure you turn them into meaningful and context-appropriate plans. These are the final prompts that you can take a photo of or note down, which will help you with your long-term curriculum planning with AI. So if you found this helpful, please feel free to like, subscribe, and click on the notifications to be informed of future videos. Our next video will be on differentiation and scaffolding.